really knows how to play around it. And 100 Thieves, it's cool to see them try it, but let's get them back on more traditional bot laners. I want to see Andy Bendy playing something that he can actually put a bigger performance on.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they end up doing, because a big part of 100 Thieves when they were playing the amateur scene was Kenvy's mojo, and just being able to move around the map and be everywhere he went. But the question is going to be, can he continue doing that against a lot of these academy players? And so far the answer has and then it kind of leaves everybody else just in a spot where as powerful as a jungler as they were hoping to. And with the Olaf and Pantheon, the traditional double red side ban coming through, I'm kind of curious where Kenvy is going to be playing this time around, now that there's 3 junglers banned so far, and I wouldn't be surprised if a 4th one is added to the list.
There's still some pretty high priority ones, but they're mostly in the AP department, where I'm looking at the Talias, I'm looking at the Nidalees that we've seen rise in popularity. So we'll see if they really want to pinch that pool, but at this point, I'm not super sure. Okay, they do actually take out the Talia, so if TSM Academy with that pinched pool, they could go for it, but no, they want that Renekton instead. They say, we don't need the Nidalee lock-in, we're just going to take the best top laner to pair with her instead.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting because it kind of dares 100 Thieves Academy to pick up the Nidalee right here and give over what is most likely to be a Lilia over to Babip. And I think it's something that Kenvy has shown some promise on, but instead they're going to be indexing into the Kai'Sa, giving them, you know, that pseudo Nocturne ult as well as some scaling opportunities later on in the game. And it's showing a very different prioritization coming out from 100 Thieves, and I wonder where Kenvy will go if they don't grab the Nidalee here.
Yeah, I mean, if they grab the Nidalee, I'm looking at Aphelios Thresh being on the table for TSM Academy. So they could actually lock that in as blue side, which would be surprising. And there we go. There's the Gragas. Picked up pretty early on here. If I'm TSM Academy, if I'm Peter Zhang, I'm saying, look, we got a strong top side early, and we can just pick up the Aphelios Thresh and try and play a weak side bot lane if they want to go in towards that strategy. But no, they say, hey, if you leave the Nidalee up, we'll take her.
Ooh, interesting. The Xayah coming through once again. Again, this character has a lot of defensive tools and is pretty decent into a lot of these heavy dive kind of compositions. And now this feels planned coming out for Kenvy, right? They pick up the Kai'Sa Gragas and they're saying, we think they're going to pick Nidalee. I'm going to pick the Graves. But it's not immediately obvious to me why that would be such a focus on how they're actually going to be drafting. It's an okay 2v2, but it's not a direct counter. It's also in the game.
Yeah, Graves is a Kenvy classic, so this
True.
is something that's in his wheelhouse. He does love this pick, but you're right in that I don't see it providing that much based on what they've already drafted. Maybe you can just kind of hang out topside and capitalize on the lockdown that a Gragas can provide, but it's not going to be the same kind of power that the Nidalee Renekton provides. So when the jungle pool is pinched that much, you got to go with what's available.
I wonder, okay, theory time. I wonder if 100 Thieves are actually just trying to get a bunch of lanes that are going to go even to okay, and just giving Kenvy time to farm, because Graves is more useful than Nidalee later on in the game, but can be very scary against characters like the Renekton Nidalee combination, where you're able to blow somebody up really quickly. And instead of trying to make a lot of early plays like 100 Thieves have traditionally done with this roster, instead might be saying, hey, let's take a step back. We're going to play for the later stages of the game when we know that our individual power is going to allow us to actually take some of these fights.
And they do have the ability to do that if they lock in a support right now. I think that's the wise choice here. Alistar is a great pair with the Kai'Sa. Oh, okay, I thought that maybe it just broke for a second there, but we're back. You got to lock in your support, because you're right, then you can't have that priority in the mid lane, which has been pinched so much right now. So maybe Azir is kind of that next option. We have heard rumblings of supports being played in the mid lane. If you want to go something like a Karma, Lulu, Zoe is also an option right now. So locked in for TSM Academy. 100 Thieves will have the answer in the mid lane, depending on what they want to play into that with the Leona answer, rounding out TSM's composition.
Yeah, okay, so interesting. The Rise coming through. It does okay into the Zoe, but also the Azir does okay into the Zoe. Like, they're both skill matchups. The Xerath would be interesting, but I don't think it
Josh,
really fits.
you know
the
we're
rest of
not
the
supposed to
composition.
do this. This is casting 101. You don't react to champions being offered.
But they're all interesting.
It's a rabbit hole. It's a
All right,
slippery
okay.
slope. This one makes the most sense to me. The Lucian counter into the Zoe.
Yeah. I like that coming through. Ryoma is going to have a little bit more freedom to be very aggressive, but hey, we're noticing this. We saw this come up pretty heavily with, I believe it was, who was playing all the marksmen? Let me check my notes. That's what these are for, right?
Yasui's
Dignitas.
played a lot of marksmen in the mid lane so far. Yeah, he loves that Lucian pick.
Yeah, Dignitas playing like triple marksman compositions fairly consistently, and it leaves them without a whole lot of agency necessarily on the map. And this is kind of fixed by the fact that they have the Gragas Alistar, but they're still going to be relatively reactive because they don't necessarily have super good siege with this composition.
It's still, they got triple marksman, but it's fairly short-ranged marksman, right? Like the Graves isn't that long range. Kai'Sa's got to dive onto you in order to get close up. Lucian's got the Colleen, but outside of that, you know. So I like the potential out of this composition, but itemization is going to be fairly easy for TSM Academy. I mean, I would imagine Babip, Sword just both grabbing Seeker's Arm Guard. Fizzy is going to just go full armor and have a great time just surviving everything. But we'll see as we load in onto Summoner's Rift for game number 4, TSM Academy taking on 100 Thieves Academy. Both teams find themselves 1 and 2, looking to even out that score line at the end of week 2 here.
Yeah, interesting enough. I like this set play coming in from Tenacity. He's likely to go over the wall. They see Cody.
Okay, Cody could be in some trouble here. Poom has the Flash Pulverize if he can catch him. Cody uses heal. Poom does not want to use the Summoner spell himself. They're just going to say, we'll take the free Summoner rather than getting both out of Cody's Sun.
Surprising. Very surprising to me that they didn't go for that. Because there's the cool thing you can do, right, where you can start the Q animation and then flash, giving your opponent very little time to actually go for anything. Not doing it means that Cody will have the flash available and less opportunity for Kenvi to come down for these early ganks. So it's a choice.
Poom also
I don't
presumably has Hex Flash, so you think that that would be definitely worth it, but we'll see what happens.
The rest of the map, kind of quiet. Zoe going a little bit aggressive to get a little bit of vision, but other than that, seems to be fairly standard openings from both teams, as we do see red start from Graves, red start for Nidalee, and I imagine we're probably going to see another yin-yang where both teams go for this full clear, show up at the respective crabs on the opposite side of the map, and then maybe coalescing around the mid lane for the standard 2v2 that we almost always see.
The only big difference being that presumably, as now Kenvi is walking past that ward, so TSM does have a little bit more information as to Kenvi's pathing right now, knowing he's not going for the Krugs himself, but going from red buff straight to those Raptors. This gives Babbitt more information to kind of try and avoid the Graves, or if his laners can get priority, catch the Graves out of position, as you know he's going to be pathing towards that bottom half of the map. But looks like Babbitt going up towards the top side might not actually be opting towards that priority on the bottom half. Also means that 100 Thieves could just keep shoving these waves in and back up Kenvi for this bottom half scuttle.
What is Kenvi doing? Okay. He's just going over to the blue buff, but Ryoma was moving forward in order to harass Nidalee at the Raptors. He might have gotten like 1 or 2 Raptors there, right? You see Babip has 11 creeps instead of 12. So I wonder how effective that actually was, because it definitely is going to be affecting Kenvi's route a little bit more than Babip's. And I mean, again, yesterday we saw a super slow start coming out from Babip, simply because he was in such a spot where he couldn't do anything. He couldn't even do his first buff based on the way that the early invade went, whereas now he's actually going to be able to get to play. And so I'm not sure that was the play to come out from Ryoma and Kenvi.
Babip has had incredibly fast jungle clears across the board, too. I mean, yesterday aside, because he was put so far behind, he is a jungler that has just incredible efficiency in where he decides to go in the first couple minutes. So, yeah, full clear right now on the top half of the map. The wave is shoved, Tenacity's under turret. He's going for the invade.
Yeah, this just comes down to the fact that Kenvi's pathing was so weird. He puts himself behind, he doesn't pick up his entire top side of the jungle. Even though he's picking up the bottom lane scuttle now, he has very little to do. They're going to spot Babip doing this on his way out, but that's not going to be giving Kenvi time to walk back into the jungle in order to really pick anything up. Yeah, Babip...
They don't spot him?
Oh, wow.
He avoids that tri-bush, so they don't actually see him. He even gets a ward down. This is very good jungle pathing here from Babip. Even gets that Scuttle Crab. It's behind timing for Kenvi's Scuttle Crab, but still gets that full clear, and Kenvi will have really no option other than to try and maybe go for a gank topside now.
Yeah, Kenvi walked over. You saw the on my way ping as soon as Babip walked into the bottom side, so you're right, they didn't spot him out, and this is just a really good advantage for BABIP overall. So credit to the veteran Oceanic jungler coming over, as he's going to be having a much more impressive back than Kenby will at this point, and part of why this team has had so much success.
Kenby will at least get his Raptors. Swings around mid lane and shows on this wave as well, just trying to hard rush towards the bottom half of the map, I suppose. Is caught up in the jungle clear right now, but BABIP already getting that first component item will be in a very powerful position. Kenby might be in some trouble here. BABIP just goes for the smite. I think he does get it right there. Kenby in the smokescreen trying to fight, whereas Ryoma and Sword find themselves in a 2v2. That's a great spear. Ryoma has to flash. Sword flash forward to follow. One more auto. He's followed up with the W flash. Kenby, meanwhile, also goes down. 2 quick kills for TSM. And that's the mid-jungle synergy you like to see.
Wow, it is so rare to see such a direct consequence of weird jungle pathing as we are seeing in this game, Kangas. The fact that Kenby did the red into Raptors on Vision, walked through mid lane to get to his blue, and didn't pick up the Krugs. BABIP is like showing a masterclass of the difference coming through right now in having these planned jungles and these reactive styles that you can really play. And 2-0 off the bat as Nidalee Zoe against Lucian Graves is insane. This is not the way this lane is supposed to be going. Ryoma is supposed to be super far ahead.
And Sword just showing what a Zoe can do. It's pretty much impossible to avoid the chase down when she can pick up your flashes. And the Lucian's picked into the Zoe because it's supposed to destroy the Zoe. And now Zoe, with that extra kill, already has the Seeker's Arm Guard with 3 stacks and Darksteel and the Corrupting Potion in a very, very comfortable position in that 1v1. But at least 100 Thieves, they do get the first rotation here for this Dragon, so they will get an early Ocean Drake. Joshi, you've said before, though, 1 Drake doesn't do that much.
Yeah, it's nice early on in the game to have an Ocean, right? It makes your trays a little bit better. But I also want to say it's not all doom and gloom for 100 Thieves just quite yet, right? Andy Bendy and Poom have been doing a good job up against Cody Sun and Fizzy. They've disjointed the backs coming in from the bottom lane, and Zaya and Leona not able to play consistently. It's been 1v2 in the bottom lane for a decent amount of time, and we're starting to see a bit of an itemization advantage coming out for Andy Bendy. Is it going to be enough? It's a bit too early to say, but they are going for the early serrated Dirk so that they can actually try and find some of these burst options a bit later on when all these squishy members of TSM start moving around the map.
It is surprising to see the early flash blow not punished, though, right? I mean, I guess Kenvy's jungle pathing didn't quite allow for it, but Cody Sun,
yeah,
I guess he used the heal, not the flash, yeah. But still,
yeah,
they didn't really try and get anything more out of that position early on.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's what the weird jungle pathing was originally for, was to try and look for some aggressive play bottom lane. I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to the wave state at the time, but look at the advantage in vision that is now being generated by TSM. They have 3 control wards in the river, and one of them is going to get spotted out. They're going to see Poom, but that just means that they can do this.
Oh, Andy Bendy in trouble on the bottom half. Used the cleanse already. Flash is available. Might just have to use it. Ooh, flashes to avoid that feather recall. I think that might have been enough damage to get the kill. So both summoner spells down on Andy Bendy, gets out with his life, but now in a very, very dangerous position if BABIP decides to go bottom.
Yeah, and that's going to undo a lot of the advantage that Andy Bendy had built for themselves, because they are going to be able to crash this wave. They're going to get a lot of gold, and now can be a little bit desperate. It's going to come up top lane, but Tenacity doesn't have a lot of mana to play with.
Hanser, meanwhile, playing safe enough. On the minimap, we can see he does get out. Kenvy's spotted, so they know that Kenvy's on the top half of the map. Hanser's pinging question mark up here. He read the gank, and more time wasted by Kenvy. BABIP isn't miles ahead in the jungle clear, but is still ahead with that kill under his belt. And now with that bot lane gap closing a little bit, I like this play from TSM. They say, send the bot lane top, let's get this Herald.
Yeah, this is so far been really clean from TSM, and I was not really looking at TSM as being one of our top teams overall at this point. They have a lot of individually strong players, but they haven't necessarily been playing so much as a team. And right now, they are kind of turning it on. They are figuring out how to move as a whole group. They're going to send Renekton bot lane here because we don't have a Dragon coming up for several minutes. In fact, he's going to teleport. And this is going to be interesting, right? Because we're seeing a lot of people starting to move into the mid lane. Don't expect a whole lot of fighting, but it is going to be giving TSM another small advantage on the map simply because they have the members first to the rotation.
And Tenacity just can't deal with this right now. I mean, Leona, they could look to dive potentially even just this 2v2 because he does not have very defensive runes. He opted for that phase rush, going for that AP build. So, I mean, I think this makes sense based on having 3 marksmen on your team. You need AP somewhere, but still, this means that he is more susceptible to dying under this turret. So it just further shows how good that rotation was from TSM. It is being answered now by 100 Thieves, though.
Yeah, it also forces Gragas into a style of gameplay, right? You want to have the tank so you can beat the Renekton in these long fights later on, but you want to go AP to actually go for these team fights because it means that you can't really fight the Renekton. Renekton's got too much sustain and is not a mana champion, so the side laning coming in for Tenacity will be a lot weaker. It's a bit of an impossible decision, and right now, absolutely nobody is matching Haunter down on the bottom lane. He's got a 30 CS lead. He's going to be able to crash another turret, whereas over here, Kenby backing away means that there's not actually an advantage being picked up for 100 Thieves over on the top side.
Haunter actually doesn't opt for a plate. I thought he was just going to keep pushing the lead. I was like, oh, that's at least one more plate going over to Haunter, but he backs. Let's see where he decides to path here. He went towards the top half at first, then bot, then okay, they're communicating. Where are we going? Where are we putting our players? But meanwhile, mid lane, Sword. It's a good trade onto Ryoma right there. Man, this is not what you expect from the Lucian Zoe matchup. Sword's played both sides of this matchup, by the way. Day number 1, he played Lucian into Zoe. He lost that side of the matchup, and now again we're seeing the Lucian lose.
Yeah, it's rough, but I really like this kind of carnival style of gameplay coming on from TSM, not because they're clowns, not today, but rather because they're currently going around the carousel, right? They're constantly rotating their bot lane, top lane, and now they have switched back. The bot lane is now here just in time for the dragon. That means 100 Thieves are going to be a little bit late to the rotation, right as Babip also crashes the Riptide to the bottom lane, giving over a ton of gold to Xayah. So they are playing this macro game really, really well, and I really want to draw attention to that because it is a major part of why they're up 3,000 gold despite only getting 2 kills.
Josh, you said at the beginning, all the players on TSM like gold. They all feel like they're carries. They all feel like if they're invested in, they can carry the game. Well, luckily enough, they're all getting gold this game. This is pretty much best case scenario for how TSM wants to play. Haunter ahead in CS. Goaty-san given the free played bot side. They group for the dragon, and yeah, there's nothing 100 Thieves can do. Kenby goes for the steal, but that's just a Hail Mary right there.
Yeah, I mean, he tried. I was wondering why he was sticking around because it's such a difficult steal opportunity. But as you said, everybody on TSM looking really good right now. They're moving as a team. They're playing as a team. They're rotating. And we'll see if 100 Thieves can do anything because they are starting to, you know, lose the advantages that they had. The bottom lane, Andy Bendy, is not far enough ahead of Xayah to necessarily carry throughout the game, and these triple marksmen, like we previously pointed out, are going to really struggle to deal with Fizzy and Haunter in the front line coming up very soon. And lastly, because they're all so short range, how are they going to deal with Nidalee Spears and Zoe Bubbles? They're not.
Yep. And the engage range of the Leona ultimate, the triple Moonquiver brothers. Can they pull it off? They're two brothers and a sister, I suppose.
Yeah. High noon.
Somewhere, I guess.
Yeah. Probably.
Getting back into the game here. Mythic items being hit by TSM, not hit yet by 100 Thieves. So that's the big thing I wanted to point out there with that comment, is that TSM are just in a really strong position. Even though there's nothing to take on the map necessarily, we can look at the gold spread right now and just see it's not like one player is fed. It's across the board. They're all ahead, which means it's that much harder for 100 Thieves to deal with because they can't just say, oh, pop that one fed member.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what a lot of these threat overload compositions are really good at, and I really like the flexibility from TSM's composition in doing that, right? They can play from really far away, they can play from relatively close up, and it means 100 Thieves have to try and play their style, but when you're behind in gold, it becomes a lot more difficult. We're seeing Kenby and Babip interacting once again, and most of these interactions have not been going in favor of 100 Thieves, so we'll see if they can find much of anything, because he's kind of settled into an okay position, which is good. He scales.
Again, this is kind of what you're talking about. You know, maybe 100 Thieves' game plan was just let Kenby power farm. Let his Graves start to come online, be a little more useful. Ooh, interesting. I thought that maybe Kenby would go for the Gale Force build, but instead the Immortal Shield Bow. I was right, it is Immortal Shield Bow this time. I maximized the screen, so it's bigger now, Joshi. I can see these.
Yeah.
But this means that it'll be a little more drain tanky as the Greaves.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, we got to start being very careful with the top lane, or the bottom laners who are currently up in the top lane, because as they interact, their fights are going to be very, very quick. One of them is going to blow the other one up if they ever interact, and we saw that Cody Sutton actually got fairly low in their last interaction, but now there are so many members up here, and they're not going to be going for the turret, at least not directly. They're going to pick up the Rift Herald first.
They don't want to hard commit to the dive. There's Alistair there to play bodyguard for Andy Benny, plus all sums up. So this makes a lot more sense for me. Just get the objective instead, but do they actually commit for it? They're pulling it out, and Ryoma and Genvi are in the neighborhood, so they could look to contest.
I think TSM can look to get these fights, but they want to make sure that they have all of their mythics online first, right? You see a bunch of them sitting with a bunch of components. When they have an opportunity to go back and buy all of these, they will be looking very, very strong. But this is a little bit scary. They do have a lot of damage heading down to the bottom side of the map, and Hanser, that's a bit early.
Ooh, that's a lot of damage in onto Renekton and Tenacity. Showing the power, the burst of the AP Gragas. Doesn't need the Mythic because he's got backup. Hanser in a very precarious position. Let's see if he can outplay this. Has the dominance, has Flash, goes in on Tenacity. But Tenacity was not taking that turret, so no follow-up. It's just a kill picked up by the Thieves.
Yeah. All right, well played. They were very patient with that, and that was really important because if they went too quickly, they could have gotten blown up. And this is interesting. Andy Benny does end up getting spotted and missed a couple of minions. I'm not sure what the whole rationale for that was, but it is going to be giving TSM an opportunity to push this in. They have the Rift Herald, and even though there is one that went down in the bottom lane, going to be matching it right up here.
Oh, cleanse used by Andy Bendy. Uses the ultimate to try and get away. Yeah, that's what happens. You don't have that cow body but guard anymore, so easy enough engage for Fizzy.
Yeah. All right, we have another dragon coming up in less than a minute, Kangas. Do you have any predictions for how this fight is going to go? Because I'm not really putting a lot of money in 100 Thieves.
It's going to be rough because Cody Sun's backing will get this mythic item here. So all members of the team are getting pretty big power spikes, whereas we see on the side of 100 Thieves, Tenacity, you have to pick up his, Poom, you have to pick up his. I guess Fizzy's also in that boat, but that's just the life of the support. But we do see now the engage, another pick found here. Hanser doesn't have the flash this time around, and the kill goes to Andy Benny. Fizzy, meanwhile, tries to engage in. 100 Thieves might have just found their play, but Soar's just a mad lad. Flashing in aggressively, picking up more flashes with that W. Poom barely survives, barely gets out of that one. TSM trying to make this an even play. Maybe they can catch another pick here, but Poom will back. That's one picked up, though. Hanser's off the table, so this could be a dragon going over to the Thieves.
But this is the scary thing about the TSM composition. They can play at so many different ranges. BABIP and Sword constantly throwing in these skill shots. Any single one hitting does a ton of damage all at once. And it's going to be giving Hanser time to respawn and have an opportunity to teleport.
And look at the front line of 100 Thieves. Tenacity's got the arm guard, but that's an AP Gragas. He can't just tank these 400 Thieves. So any one of these that hits, it stays. There's no Moonstone. There's very little ability to heal back up, so 100 Thieves say, yeah, we will look for a reset rather than contesting that dragon. We're not going to force it. We got to catch these waves.
Yeah, and they're still missing ultimates, so it becomes basically impossible, but they might be able to find a fight. TSM actually haven't started hitting the dragon just quite yet, so we'll get a replay of this, and ultimately, it's just a simple catch. Hanser is the one who has to go check all these places, but he doesn't have friends here yet. Fizzy and Sword up towards the end, but both Zaya and Nidalee are still coming out of base, so, you know, he does have to come check this area soon, but just did it a little bit too early.
And 100 Thieves played that pretty well with the pick. They were a little hesitant on what to do after that. It didn't seem like they wanted to just go for the dragon right away or go for the mid lane. They were a little split. And at the end of the day, they don't really get much for that pick. TSM, meanwhile, get that mid turret. They get that dragon. So it's a pick on a Hanser, but it really doesn't mean much for the Thieves.
It doesn't. I mean, they keep him down, which is nice. You know, you just have a little bit more gold in your pocket, but you're still down a respectable amount at this point in the game. It's not enough to end it outright, but it is very dangerous because you're not getting all of these members with the Gale Forces ahead. Andy Bendy has 1 kill, Ryoma has 1 assist. They are functionally even in CS across the board, and they're going to be, again, we keep coming back to this, as T goes to infinity, Zoe is going to kill you. You will eventually get hit by a bubble, you will eventually mess up, and you will eventually die, and TSM will be able to laugh all the way to the bank with it.
TSM, with their range advantage, have been playing this transition to the mid game very, very well, playing the mid game very well. And so far, 100 Thieves just haven't found their opportunity to really pop off, right? I mean, when you look at their composition, you see the triple marksman, you see the potential for them to really blow somebody up if everyone can target them, if Poom and Tenacity can find that clutch engage. But when TSM are playing from such a long range, they just can't find that. So it'll be really, when I look at it, I expect more of a mistake from TSM or some kind of crazy flank coming in from Poom or Tenacity to really blow this game open, because you're right, it's not over yet. There is a chance that 100 Thieves can still turn this one around, because we really haven't had like that back-breaking play yet. And so far, I mean, Joshi, I was saying I want longer games. Those last two, way too fast. I think this one's going to deliver. What do you think?
I think we're in for a long haul here, Kangas. I don't know what they're actually going to fight over. I'm trying to figure out what these teams have decided are the big things to go for, and it's not been obvious. Like, they've been looking at the Dragon, it's like, yeah, I think I want it, but it's not like this big thing that both teams are looking to fight over. They've touched on the Herald. I think they ended up splitting those this game. And eventually, like, some team has to decide, okay, well, we want this badly enough, and I know you want to not give it badly enough that we're going to fight over it. But neither team is doing much.
Well, because TSM can't necessarily just rush objectives. Like, if Dragon spawns, they can't just burst it down. They have to play with the range and try and poke out the Thieves. But if they get too close, 100 Thieves have a great engage tool plus the triple marksman composition. It's really hard to predict what's going to happen as we are preparing for this next big fight, because eventually they have to do something. They have to interact with each other. That's just the nature of League of Legends right now with the Soul and with things like Baron on the table. So we're transitioning to the later stage of the mid game, getting towards what we would consider the late game as 2 items, approaching 2.5 items for some of these champions. And that clock is ticking down. But let's do a quick recap. Let's take this opportunity, Joshi, to really start grading some of these players, because it's still early on in the season.
Okay.
And we highlighted 2. We highlighted Sword, we highlighted Fizzy going into this one. So on TSM's side, how do we feel that they've been doing so far? Like, do you expect more from them? Do you wish that they had done anything differently? What would you grade them?
It's hard to say, right? Because we don't know who was the one who was making the decisions today. As a whole season, I think I'm gonna give them both a B, right? Like, they're doing good. They are not just the average C. They are having opportunities to make plays, but they haven't necessarily been converting them into actual victories, right? They are laying the groundwork, but I still need to see a little bit more literary analysis coming through before I can upgrade them to the next level.
Sword in particular is somebody that I think that applies to a lot. You know, he's had some pop-off performances, but really hasn't had the economy to show, yep, I'm a key carry on this team. And this time around, got one of those early kills, you know, had a decent matchup against Lucian, and I want to track what kind of Zoe plays he's able to find, because Zoe is one of those plays where on the right, you know, player with the right skill expression, you can do some ridiculous things. So we'll have to track that. See maybe if you can turn that B into an A after this game's performance. Let's go over to 100 Thieves then. What do we think about them?
Overall, I've not been particularly impressed with 100 Thieves, either today or throughout the course of this split, right? We've been seeing a lot of unforced errors from Tenacity and Kenby in particular, because they tend to be the ones on screen trying to make things happen. And on the one hand, I appreciate the confidence. On the other hand, you also really need to be able to do things with that confidence. Otherwise, you're not going to do a whole lot. And I actually, you know, if a C is average, I feel like they've both been getting a D from me so far.
Oh, the first D grade that I've heard. I mean, they are sitting 1 and 2.
Oh, they go.
Here's the engage. Finally, Poom's able to find something. That's a disengage with the Zai, but Fizzy's going to get caught out. Bursted down. Meant to be the front line, but not quite. Now Haunter's joined in, teleported where he didn't want to be. Kenby jumps in, takes a huge battle start to the face, but Drain tanks through it thanks to that build. That Immortal Shield Bow put in work right there. And
All right,
TSM
looking to get
find
some
themselves on the back foot.
extra credit here, Kangas. Right off the bat, as soon as I say, they do that. They find multiple members, and Poom actually sees the brief opportunity where people are split up. They say, hey, Renekton's off in the bottom lane. We need to go for this fight, and they reward themselves with the dragon. But I gotta temper that a little bit. I don't think this dragon is particularly important other than preventing kills.
What a headbutt into the flash pulverize. You love to see it using Fizzy as that stopgap.
Yeah. And they just dogpile on instantly, right? Everybody goes in. Everybody's like, oh, this is the play. We're doing it. We blow up 2 members. And they're both the tanky ones, right? They're not indexing into a whole lot of armor or anything. They're not trying to get onto this backline because they're just like, no, these are the people we can hit. And we're doing a good job of that. But we're still 2-2 in Dragons. That's not a big deal, right? Neither team is going to hit a Dragon Soul this game.
We've had such a big lull as we've been in this mid game here. Finally, we get that explosive fight, but you're right. At the end of the fight, we kind of feel like we've just returned back to right where we were. Nothing to fight over anymore. Both teams content to just grab these waves, and we're just maybe waiting for that next dragon. The one thing I will say is triple marksman composition. 100 Thieves can take this Baron quickly, but it's actually TSM that start up the Baron.
Okay. This is interesting. Trying to pull people over. Where is Hanser in all of this? Because he kind of needs to be here for this play. Otherwise, they might just get flopped.
They're committing. TSM, they might just take it. The smite is true.
Right,
TSM just get a free Baron. 100 Thieves, let's see if they can punish now. They got to pick up at least 2 to 3 members to really make this worth it. They get the 80 carry. That's a good start. Fizzy will also fall buying time. 2 Barons are taken off the table, but overall, TSM walk away from that thinking, yep, heist successful.
Yeah, that was really good. And very surprising, too. Right, at the very beginning of that, I said Renekton needs to be here in order to make this play really successful, and Renekton was on the opposite side of the map. So I think that's a big reason why they lost 2 members, and 100 Thieves are actually going to narrow the gold lead at this point. So it's currently a negative Baron power play. Because you see, again, Renekton's over at the Dragon. Every single member of 100 Thieves is able to come over, and because all the flashes were burned by Poom in the previous fight, they can't get over the wall, they can't escape, and suddenly there's just too much damage for them to deal with.
TSM now have to make use of that Baron to earn back some of that gold deficit that they just found themselves in. They were 2k ahead before that Baron, now they're only at 1k ahead. But with that Baron comes opportunity, comes potential. They still have the Renekton side laner. They still have the poke of a Nidalee Zoe that can really follow up if Renekton's creating this pressure. And Renekton, crucially, does still have that Baron. Not one of the ones to go down, it was just Cody Sun and Fizzy. So I feel like there's still a lot of potential here for TSM to make this worth it.
Yeah. Interesting. I heard a ghost come through. Oh, it's Sword because he's got the spell book. Got it. All right. Okay. This is what I've wanted from TSM for a while.
He's stuck. Poom's stuck. He doesn't have ultimate. He has to go in right now. Oh! Babip with the pop. The explosive damage. He might just go down here. Oh, it's not enough tenacity. Get just a little more AP. Might have been able to actually get that kill onto Babip. But TSM pick up a kill onto that pesky Alistar front line.
Hey, Kangas, they realize they have an insane siege composition and they're sieging.
What?
Whoa!
That's crazy. No way.
They finally
Sieging
did
with
it.
Baron? It's unheard of. Absolutely
unbelievable.
Unheard of. Can they get much more, though? Because they cracked a couple turrets, and 100 Thieves... Oh, are they just going to... Okay, I thought maybe they were just looking to engage right there.
Oh, this is really dangerous. Oh, no, he's got teleport. He's going to go get more mana and come right on back. All right, I take it back. It's not dangerous at all. This is really good. But it took them a long time to just decide, like, hey, we have Nidalee Zoe.
Poom engaging. Poom dead. This might be it. Honestly, I think TSM win this fight. Yeah, they get 1, they get 2. Now Tenacity will be the next to fall. Doesn't even get time to flash. TSM just running over 100 Thieves. All they needed was a singular Baron to just blow this game wide open. They'll take the middle inhibitor. They might not actually go for the end play just yet, but man, this is a pretty crippling blow to 100 Thieves.
Yeah, it really is, and I'm kind of left to ask, where was this previously? But they're going to be able to get this bottom lane inhibitor turret. They still have enough Baron left over, but they got to be careful. We're able to get a lot of damage. Andy Benny almost has killer instinct.
Cody, really limit testing the health bar out of Xayah. He's like, it's been a while since I played this champ. Let's see how much of a culling I can tank to the face before I go down. But they do get that inhibitor turret and the middle inhibitor will fall. So overall, that was definitely worth that Baron play for TSM.
Oh yeah, and now giving over this dragon, not the worst thing in the world. Again, it's kind of late in the game. It's unlikely that these teams are going to be getting the Dragon Soul, but they finally line up, and Poom takes so much damage before he goes into the fight that by the time he's ready to engage, he doesn't have the health bar to do so, and because of that, they aren't able to line anybody up. They aren't able to burst anyone from the very beginning, and it means that TSM able to actually finally take this fight from a long range like they've been trying to for most of this game. So they end up getting a whole lot for themselves. They give over a dragon, but that's okay. They're going to be able to move around the map once again and look to take down the base of 100 Thieves.
And if I was reading that play correctly, I think Andy Bendy actually had an opportunity. It would have been crazy. He would have needed to use Flash, but he could have maybe gotten a double assassination on a Cody and Sword, because that explosive cast from Tenacity did a ton of damage, and they were both below 1/4 health. But
oh yeah,
end of the day, 100 Thieves at least hold on to the game. They haven't lost too much of their base. It's just supers pushing in mid, which they can just keep funneling on to any of their marksmen really at this point. But now 100 Thieves fighting for their own jungle. TSM do not want to give it to them. They're looking for this red buff. It is secured by Kenvi.
It's still on the opposite side of the map. Haunter still pushing, and this is part of why AP Gragas, it's necessary to provide enough magic damage for the team, but it doesn't do particularly well against the Renekton. There's no teleport on Tenacity, and so Renekton's going to be able to push this in relatively freely. So 100 Thieves going to have to give up this turret, going to have to back away and try and defend around their base, but they got to find a fight relatively quickly, because the more time you give Zoe and Nidalee to poke, the harder it is to find that fight.
And from 100 Thieves' perspective, they're like, ugh, we gotta answer the Renekton, but that's an 0-3 Renekton. He is not the primary threat. I guess fine, we'll send Gragas down there, but they don't actually find the pick. They sent 3.
Yeah. And everybody on the other side, I mean, there's no wave, not as much for them to do, but eventually some of these skill shots are going to land.
The poke will come through eventually, and when it lands, it will stick. 100 Thieves, they're trying to defend this top turret, their last inhibitor turret, and so far grouping up as 5, they are able to actually pull that off. Haunter just walking in this bottom wave, and Baron is coming up here in less than a minute, just 20 seconds on that timer. I think that TSM, they can just keep this pressure up. They already control all the vision on the top half of the map. They could just look to take a second Baron.
They could. They could also try and find something. I mean, they have a lot of options on the table right now, but they haven't really been committing. They haven't really been looking to force errors from the other team, and now Poom it looks like he took a spear or something. He took a decent chunk of damage.
It was a paddle star.
Continue to push. Yeah.
Yeah, and at this point, one Zoe bubble could mean the end of the game. Like, 100 Thieves have to be so careful walking into this completely dark jungle.
Oh yeah, this is the moment where you prevent them from walking in. You have so much poke, so many bushes that they need to check, and eventually you're just going to be able to hit them over and over. Oh, they find the flank.
No, here we go. Haunter's trying to force the engage. 100 Thieves successfully disengaged, though. They're getting some of that range down. That's Graves' ult. That is Lucian ult. That is also Andy Bendy low on mana. So TSM, nobody falls. They just successfully get these big cooldowns and now can refocus their attention onto the objective.
Yeah, they're going to be starting to hit it. Tenacity doesn't have the teleport available, and Poom is on a reset. So they're going to be down a member at least if they try and go in. Kenvi already at half HP, and Sword continue to poke.
Let's see if 100 Thieves can do it. Can be pretty low. There's that bubble going out. That's a pretty decent cooldown there. Baron no longer the focus. TSM disengage. That's a big barrel from Tenacity. He goes forward, trying to get that burst down. That's one to fall already. Andy Bendy, the beneficiary of that kill, and TSM successfully pushed off. Poom has rejoined in the fight. The cow is here. And TSM, they did not successfully prepare for that Baron. They do get pushed off.
Yeah, Sword gonna back away and come back with more mana. He's got the teleport available. Haunter gonna do the same thing. We're on for a second fight.
Okay, they're just trying to land this poke. They need it to land, and the Baron's already down. The fight's over. Poom re-engages, trying to find his way onto Fizzy, who goes down instantly. Haunter now, the re-frontliner, misses the slice and dice over the wall. Has to flash instead. 100 Thieves say, thanks for the team fight, thanks for the Baron. They're feeling pretty good about the outcome of that fight. Riom almost goes down to that spear, but will still survive. That was exactly what 100 Thieves needed to get back in this game.
Yeah, this is surprising to come out from TSM. We might actually see a Dragon Soul getting picked up by one of these teams. Still 40 seconds left, and that's plenty of time for 100 Thieves to go ahead, back away, and then get back on the map for this Dragon fight. And honestly, TSM, they kind of failed to realize what their composition does, and when they started doing what they're supposed to do, they look really good, but they're back to not doing what their composition does. They're not proactively forcing poke to land onto people. They aren't denying vision so that it's easy for them to hit everyone, and now they're going to get a lot of damage on Tenacity, not enough to kill him, but he's got teleport. He's just going to be right on back.
True, he will be able to back, reset, get a buy quick before this dragon spawns in 5 seconds, where we presume the fight to be. Okay, he's teleporting right here.
Nice.
Boom says, we are fighting now. The frontliner of Hans are trying to buy some space. Ryoma can't quite get the damage. Poom is vulnerable. Poom is down. A trade of the supports. But look at Tenacity buying space on the front line. Meanwhile, Hanser is bodying Andy Bendy. It doesn't matter, though, because 100 Thieves with their triple marksman threat composition will pull off the fight. They take down the frontliners. It's just Sword left alive, and 100 Thieves win out the fight.
Yeah, Tenacity actually coming up huge in this fight. He was able to zone both Cody Sun and Sword for a majority of that, and with this Dragon Soul going in favor of 100 Thieves, this game is looking to be just about over, because a lot of the advantages that TSM had, a lot of the confidence that they were missing in order to try and make their plays, is going to be super shot. Now they're going to be forced into a lot of desperate situations and looking for unforced errors from 100 Thieves rather than being able to aggressively force them to make the errors on their own terms.
And you can start to feel what the triple marksman composition does at this point in the game. All 3 of them can shred down Fizzy. Fizzy's job is actually very hard right now because he's got all this poke that needs to land before he goes in. Once he's in, he's just dead. Like, there's nothing. Yeah, you got your W. Yeah, you got Aftershock, but triple marksman will still just wreck you. And watch Poom's engage right here. He says, we're fighting. We're fighting right now as soon as that teleport starts channeling.
And then watch Tenacity as well. He comes in, and while they go for this engage, while Haunter tries to dive back in, Tenacity is around the side, and look, Sword and Cody Sun can't participate. They just get blown up, lose 3/4 of their HP, and Tenacity doesn't need to do anymore because the rest of the marksmen are able to kite out this Renekton.
And now another fight's breaking out. Already one picked up. Cody Sun gets the kill onto Poom. Triple marksman still on the table, but they don't have that cow frontliner. It's just Tenacity. A trade of supports yet again. Man, it is not a good time to be a support player on the Rift. Fizzy and Poom really putting in work with the gray screen timers here, keeping their teams in this game. Not sure what started that fight off, but the Mountain Dragon Soul is on 100 Thieves. They have that extra bit of tankiness, and they will disengage.
Yeah, this is looking very rough for TSM. They want to be creating proactive siege situations rather than reactive ones, and it is so dangerous for them at this point because Ryoma can do things like this, chilling out on the sides, and as long as he doesn't get hit by this bubble, yeah, he's going to be able to get out just fine. And Kangas, I'm a little bit worried that we might be going right on back to a lull state where neither team really wants to do anything because they just want to wait for these objectives to spawn. And I don't think 100 Thieves wants to fight for this dragon because that's a way for TSM to win.
I was going to say, you say that, but if you're 100 Thieves right now, you already have the Dragon Soul, you already have triple marksman with 4 items apiece. I guess not quite yet for Ryoma, but I actually like this from Andy Betty, opting more into the AP himself, so going kind of old school with that AP Kaisa build, but they're ready to fight with their composition, and if they win a fight, they can just end the game. We're at that point where you don't need Elder Dragon, you don't need Baron to close out the game. If you just get a clean, couple pickups here, you can just force the end.
All right. I like Poom threatening around the side, looking to be aggressive and force TSM away from the turret because you never know when he's just going to flash over the wall. But now as things kind of reset once again, they're not actually hitting the turret. Like, this is the thing that worries me as I watch these teams, is that they aren't actually pushing any of their advantages. They're kind of just waiting for things to happen, and that should favor TSM, but TSM aren't doing anything with it either.
They haven't landed the right poke yet. They're starting to, they're trying. They're throwing it out there, but at this point, I think Poom can tank up enough of it. I think even Tenacity can just kind of heal through it. If it hits Kenvi, just a couple autos with that Immortal Shield Bow will heal all that back up. So their targets for the poke are getting limited. Plus, of course, there's that Mountain Soul.
Sleep.
So one sleep hit, but not going to be enough to really start the fight on either side. TSM cautiously walking forward. Do they want this? That's a big explosive catch. Watch for Puma on the flank. Watch for this Alistair. This is a huge play. He gets onto the backline. Hansen trying to buy some space, flashes away. Puma will sacrifice his life for this, but Andy Benny jumps in now. Can't quite find the plays. Hansen has bought so much time, but look at this Kaisa. Andy Benny goes gold and buying more time for the team. Tenacity jumping forward. The rest of the marksmen say, you forgot about us, TSM. And a clean ace, only trading their support. 100 Thieves win the fight.
Wow, that should be the game. They gotta wait for this wave to get here, but they have the teleport from Tenacity. They have 3 marksmen. There's no way these structures are going to survive for a whole 30 seconds as 100 Thieves are going to finally walk this one in. And it hasn't been super clean, Kingies. I have not been particularly impressed with the gameplay, but a W is a W, and they're going to move up to 2-2.
A triple marksman composition working on Summoner's Rift for LCS Academy. 100 Thieves, they had to work for it, but they got that W, ending their week 2-2. TSM, meanwhile, still 1-3, searching for that even scoreline. Congratulations to the Thieves. They held on. That did not look like an easy game for them. They were struggling as we were transitioning to that early game.
Yeah, it was a very interesting one to watch, right? Because you look at TSM, I kept saying, proactively siege. You got Nidalee Zoe. Didn't do it. By the time that things really turned around and 100 Thieves were in control of the game, the people that I was saying, it's like, I don't know if I'm particularly impressed with these guys right now. Tenacity and Kenvi really turned it on. Tenacity had huge team fighting wins, and Kenvi, of course, getting a quadra kill at the end to win it all, really kind of showing us, you know, the variance that comes out in this academy level. You see a lot of players trying to go for plays, and when they work, they look like geniuses.
And keep in mind, Tenacity was hard shut down in that early game. That was a pretty rough first couple minutes playing the Gragas topside, but showing up when it mattered. The AP Gragas, we saw why it's so strong. He built Secret, was still able to think up a lot of what Renekton was trying to output against him in that side lane, and then was just able to pop people. I mean, it was the poke composition coming in from the side of TSM, but honestly, Tenacity's poke was also pretty annoying to deal with. When he threw out that cask, you noticed it for sure. So we're going to send it to a short break before we get back for more LCS Academy action coming up after this. You're not going to want to miss it. We got one final game for the day with CLG Academy looking to take on their rivals. In 1 second, I don't have my, there we go, Immortals Academy. There's only one other team that hadn't played today. I should have had it on command, but we'll be right back.